Thomas here with Much Props. Going to give you another how-to video. Today I thought I'd throw something simple at you. Yes, pun intended. I've been having this particular item pop up on my Instagram feed quite a bit from some people that I follow, and I really like the design of it. I think it's something pretty simple that can easily be done in foam, and of course in Much Props fashion I got to make it kind of bigger than it's supposed to be, so I have decided to make some oversized Oogie Boogie dice from Nightmare Before Christmas. Template in the description. Let's get to building. For this build, I decided to go larger than needed to, just for fun. You can easily take this template and scale it down to an actual pair of dice size, but I'm from Texas and everything is bigger here. I've made some custom dice in another video. You should definitely go back and watch if you haven't already. I made them out of some styrene and then I cast them using some resin. For this, I'm using 6mm and 4mm What the Foam from Cosplay Apprentice, and simply just cut 6 5-inch squares with a 45-degree angle cut inward. I looked at a reference image I found in a Google search and hand drew all the skull faces that go on the dice, traced them onto some 4mm EVA and cut them out. If you are making a set, you'll need 2 of each skull, obviously. I used What the Foam for this build because it's much denser than regular EVA and will make my build even sturdier. Once I cut all the skulls out, I took my stone bit on my rotary tool and carved in the details. Anytime you sand or burn foam, make sure that you wear a respirator and work in a well-ventilated area. The fumes and the dust are not things that you want to breathe in. I decided to 45 my edges so that it would limit the seams that you could see. Put down some contact cement on all the edges and tack them together. You could use the table to help you keep things flush, but I kind of like to be able to see the edge that I'm lining up as I go. Just go slow, and once it is where you want it to be, push on the edges to seal them up. I printed out a diagram of how the skull heads should line up with each other. I did not make this one, but I will try and make my own of this type of template so that you can use it as a reference, or if you wanted to, you could build it as a paper craft. I tack them into position and move on to the next. A great use for little pieces of EVA is to use them as a squeegee to help you spread the contact cement evenly across your surface. The 5 and 6 on the dice have holes that are drilled into the dice base. To do this, I'm using a wide flat stone bit on my rotary tool to grind it out. Be careful doing this. EVA will start melting if you just let the friction build up, so it'll start to splatter liquid hot foam at you. To avoid this, you could grind it in a little, let it cool down, and then do more, or you could cut the circles out and then re-glue them lower than flush. Two coats of Plasti Dip. There are several approaches you could take for this paint job. Usually I paint in the solid colors, then come back and dirty it up with washes. This time I decided to work in the opposite direction. Starting with a dark base, I dry brushed on my Plasti Dip acrylic paint over the top, starting with the dark colors and working my way up to the lightest. Dragging it across with an old chip brush, it gives a different texture and overall accomplishes a similar task. So I left this part in so that you could see I make tons of mistakes too. The joy of editing video is I can cut out most of them. I decided to put some glow in the dark Plasti Dip paint over the top of my paint job, which should dry clear. I ended up getting impatient and layered it on too thick, which ended up leaving a milky look over the top of it. So I had to go in and spray paint it and dry brush it all over again. My final result does not glow in the dark as I intended to at the beginning of this build. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, a very simple build, something that definitely a beginner could tackle in a couple of hours. The paint job wasn't too difficult. I did leave in a few things that I wanted you to see. I tried to use some Plasti Dip glowing paint on this, and I think because I'm using red and putting that over the top of it, and I probably added on too thick of a layer, it kind of milkied up the surface, so I went in and repainted the entire thing again to bring it back to what it was. So you could do the glowing effect. I would probably just recommend that you paint them in the neon colors as when it is the glowing part on the show itself. So yeah, maybe you will try and make some of these dice yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to make things that are way too big and could easily knock somebody out. Oh, I'm thinking it. Maybe you'll get some...
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. Time to roll them dice. See what we get here. Here we go. Catch. Catch this one.